Action.
Uh, it's good to be back here in the sunny Lexington. I'm in Lexington.
That's
Uh,
exciting. Massachusetts?
yep. By the way, this background is no Kentucky. This background is. Are you joking? Or are you serious?
I was joking.
Okay. Well, is there a Lexington, Massachusetts?
Is that serious? Are you joking now?
That's a big. Well, then why? How would I know you're joking if there's too popular? I could be in there.
Well, because I know where you are.
Oh, you know where I am. Right. By the way, this background's amazing. I feel like I'm an independent film. It's like the mise en scene in this mise en scene, mise en
I don't,
whatever.
I don't really backfired.
Doesn't it look really good? Like the door and the. I feel like it's my best background so far.
It looks nice. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
background.
yeah. I'm in Kentucky.
There's an old Don Gavin joke. He would say, "Let me tell you a little bit about my background. There's a sign that says comedy connection." Funny.
It's great.
You ever
Like a
listen to
good
his
old.
album?
I don't know Don Gavin.
Well, go listen to his album after this. I posted on Instagram. You'd think I was an influencer. You'd listen, but
I'm done with comedy albums, but I love the joke though. It's a great joke. Yeah, it feels like an old Mel Brooks joke.
oh, you should go listen to his album after this because it'll bring you joy and it'll inspire you. Some of the
He's
best.
that good, huh? Don Gavin.
He invented a style. I mean, like, I don't want to name names, but many comedians are just blatantly and admittedly doing it. Not blatantly, but they're
What's
doing.
the style?
You listen and then you'll see a bunch of comics.
Right,
And you're like, oh, I got you.
By the way, I was in Omaha and I met Colleen and she was pushing the liquid death on us and I which I don't really get. It's just water.
Yeah, but it's fun water. There's no plastic. It stays icy cold.
We talk about it so much, I keep on thinking it's not just water, but it's just water.
Well, they should send us. I mean, they sent me some free stuff, and
Well, she said she's going to get in contact. We might have our first sponsor.
I would love that. Well,
I mean, not after I kind of shit on it just now, but like we were about to have our first sponsor.
It's so weird because you think in your mind, you're like, all right, if I drink this on the podcast, which I'm not doing to get a sponsor, it's what I drink at home. But you think like, oh, they should sponsor us because I'm drinking it. But I think in their mind, they're like, why would we pay you? You're already doing it.
You're already doing it. Yeah. But in this situation, I told her she's excited. I think we're going to be official sponsors. She's not paying us, but we're going to be official. No, I'm kidding. I assume she'd pay us. That's how it works, right?
I think. I mean, that's what a sponsor is.
Yeah. That's the only unpaid sponsor. Yeah. Yeah, I think so I think that will be our first one. So yeah, Liquid Death.
All right, great. And don't forget New York City Bagel Company
and Aquafina. Oh wait, I can't sponsor the competition. Fuck.
Get that out of there. Black it out.
Oh shit, I fucked up our first sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Pema Chodron. The new book is Welcoming the Unwelcome.
This is brought to you by the raisins I didn't eat in these nuts because I'm on a detox. I'm on a detox right now, which is pretty intense.
What kind of detox?
For a week. No sugar, no gluten, no carbs, no dairy.
And what does it do? You sleep better, your dick grows, what goes on?
It's everything. I feel great. I don't feel here's the main thing. After I eat a meal, I don't want to kill myself. Like so that, I have yet to feel bad.
I never know what to eat. What do you eat? Salad, nuts?
Yes, nuts. Basically nuts, vegetables, and meat and fish. That's it. That's the whole thing. And eggs.
Oh, I love eggs.
I just had I've just been eating, but even like I've had salads, but not. This detox has made me realize like every time we eat a salad, it's actually kind of unhealthy because we put dressing on it. I'm actually having, having a healthy salad. Like it's actually just salmon, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and oil and vinegar.
I know. I just hate all this shit. It's my biggest pet peeve in the world is like, that's actually quite unhealthy. I'm like, okay, but it's not. It's like, all right, Caesar dressing. It's like whatever. There's some fat in it, but it's like a cheeseburger and fries is unhealthy.
It's relative. A Caesar dressing is healthier than a burger, but it's still when you detox and you realize like that sugar and everything is keeping you sluggish, you know?
No, I got to do better because I'm like, I've been trying to eat less meat and cutting out red meat for the most part. Although I had a burger last week because I was at a diner. But
yeah,
I eat a bagel every morning, a big bagel with peanut butter, and I'm like, oh, I feel like
every time Well, I used to be on diets a lot. I go to diner with comics after shows, and I just get a salad. I feel like such a fucking asshole. Like, everyone's just.
I
like,
know the word you use.
or I go, I go to like Waffle House or something and just get a salad, and it'd just be so depressing.
Yeah, even the waitress hates you. Fucking idiot.
But anyway, let's talk about these movies, because I know you're in the middle of production on 12 different projects.
No, one big project.
You're transitioning before our eyes. It's like if Roger Ebert was like, Siskel, wrap it up. I gotta make this movie in a couple minutes. You know what I mean?
Well, it's scary. This is what's scary. So I'm making a film, and I wrote it, and I'm producing it, and I'm starring in it, and all we do is just take apart little things of like, why did the dad have a mustache? Be a weird guy. And it's horrible because
you fucked yourself.
I'm reading the script, and I have you in my head. Everything. I'm like, me and this other guy are like, don't let Raanan see the script. And I keep going back to him and being like, we got to change this line. He's like, nobody cares about that. But I'm like, I care. This is the thing I look at, and I'm like, why would he be skinny and he's got red hair? It's awful.
You just hear my voice in your head. I just don't get it.
This is a classic thing. And someone wrote about this in War of Art or Art of War, or whatever the fucking thing is. The Sarah talks about it. It's like early on in artistry, you hate yourself because you have such high taste, but you have no skill level.
Right.
Everything you're making, you hate.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you're like, all we do is shit talk shit. But then when you start creating shit, you're like, all right, let's all just be supportive and encouraging. Let's not do any shit talking right now. We got to be encouraging,
Well, it does make you think, because that's the way with stand up. When you see someone on Twitter shitting your stand up, you're like, what did you ever do? You're like, nothing. I pursued a dream. I'm doing something, and you're a goddamn dentist, you loser. And
wait, are we that?
What's that?
Are we that now?
We're that. We're that movies, and then you just kind of hope, like, hopefully they never look at this, but it is a thing of like, hey, making a movie's tough.
But let me just put a pin in that, or not put a pin in it, but redirect or devil's argument. We're not like talking shit publicly, and I'm not like messaging Wes Anderson, fuck you. Like, I'm not like, we're just analyzing movies in a podcast. I feel like if you had critics analyzing comics in a podcast and you heard them and they like analyze some of our jokes, I don't know if we'd be as upset, would we?
I'd be annoyed. I probably wouldn't watch it. But first of all, this is public. You understand? Right? Like, I'm gonna upload it onto YouTube. This is not private. But I know what you mean. It's not. That is a huge difference.
I'm not like William Friedkin, you fucking homo, quit directing. Like, no, these people are attacking you.
Yes, there is a difference. And there are people that have reviewed my album, and people have been like, hey, don't read this review. And I'm like, all right, I wasn't gonna, but now I know. So that is different. And I do think of, like, Ari and I had this conversation a long time ago where it's like Bob Dylan doesn't put out an album and then like look through Rolling Stone to be like, what? Oh, he creates it and moves on. And Woody Allen hasn't read a review since 1948. And
right, though it is a little lonely. It's kind of like this podcast. I don't read reviews, so I don't hear anything good or bad. It's basically, this podcast is like me just. It's as if it's not going public in my head because I'm not like seeing any response.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's how you should try to be as an artist. And then I'll send you the good stuff. The last one didn't go well for you. That was not.
What was the last one? Oh, Freakin'?
The exorcism. They didn't like it. They were not happy.
Yeah, they can go fuck themselves. By the way, real quickly, we're talking about homo. You know the Matt Damon thing where he's in trouble for the gay thing?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
I don't think so.
Isn't it like he's like, I'm no longer saying the F word, right?
Yes.
And everyone's like attacking him. You should have done that years ago. But he's saying, I'm no longer saying the F word privately. Isn't that kind of impressive?
It is to me.
I mean, everyone says the F word privately. Like everyone attacking him says the F word privately. He's saying, I'm no longer even saying it when no one's around.
I think the people attacking him probably don't say it privately.
No? All right. We say it on this podcast. So he's way better than us.
Oh yeah, no question. And, yeah, no. Matt Damon is better than us if that's going to be the topic of conversation. That
Well,
every
it's not. Well, it sucks when you see someone being attacked, and then you're like, oh, he's way more progressive. You know
but
what I mean?
here's the thing: is the whole Twitter cycle world is just so, and not this doesn't need to be discussed really. Everyone knows it's just such bullshit. You just see it. You see the fucking headline, which someone sent it to me as a joke. And someone sent the article to me, the headline, and was like, "Someone's not welcome in Boston anymore," which is funny. But as soon as I see the headline, I'm just like, "Oh, this is going to be a thing for like 2 days. It's going to be 40,000 tweets, which is relatively nothing." And he'll make a statement and go, "Oh, geez, I'm sorry. My father's gay." And then it'll be over. And everyone feels the need to rush to their computer and write, "Matt Damon's a bad person. I'll never watch Good Will Hunting again."
You know, it's kind of funny. You kind of always randomly say my father's gay, but it actually kind of worked in that context.
Right.
It was actually like, it wasn't a non sequitur. Like, my father's gay. I'm allowed to say it. Right. That was the first time. Broken clocks, not right twice a day. Yeah, no, for sure. Here's all you have to know about Twitter. Everyone was really upset about Israel, like killing all those people in Gaza, like to the point where like they're like, cancel Israel. Israel's just one of many celebrities they want to cancel. Everyone was so upset about Israel. And then the next week they were equally upset about there not being enough dark-skinned Latinos in that in the Heights musical. So it's like, that's all you have to know.
Well, I've talked about this before, maybe here and maybe elsewhere, but it's always funny when you see some of these people on Twitter. They'll literally tweet like, "So and so should not be allowed to work anymore because of something they did 30 years ago. We should show up and throw eggs at their face,
yeah,
and make sure whatever." And then literally like 15 minutes later, they're like, "I'll be at the Brooklyn Ballroom on Wednesday." And then the next tweet is like, "Hey, here's a recipe I found that's really good." Where I'm like, so you're just like willy-nilly, like just take away that person's life and here's some cookies I like.
And what's horrible is like, they're not even like, it's awful that they're doing it, but even the more awful is that they don't care how hypocrite, like it's one thing to be that calculated, but for them to like literally be so transparent and not give a shit. It's like the way Trump was so transparent and pissed people off. Like the guy who canceled, like tried to cancel Shane was immediately like, "Here's my bird poetry. Like, thanks for the new followers." It's like, give it a day at least before you transition. You know what I mean? It's like the not like, I don't know, the cynicism of it is crazy.
Yeah, it's wacky. It's unhealthy. I mean, those people are all unwell. For the most part, if you're tweeting anything that's not like a silly observation or a joke, they're unwell. And you can make a case that those people are unwell too. That you're like, "I thought of a joke. Let me throw it out to everybody and hope that it gets legs."
You mean us?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we're unwell. And they're even more unwell. But yeah, of course. Yeah, everyone's unwell. But anyway,
let's talk about this filmmaker
let's talk about
an absolute genius and trying his best, and anything that's not.
Oh, you're gonna be all fucking supportive now.
Yeah,
he's great.
perfect.
This is his first movie, Get Out, and what a great first movie. And
it's very difficult to transition from comedy to film. And
all right, Code. No, but you're gonna be you can't be extra supportive because of the movie coming out. I don't want you to fucking, go soft. Don't go soft on me now.
No, I'm soft whenever.
What's that on? Don't go soft on me. What is that from? Don't go. That's a Tarantino movie. Don't go soft.
That's in a lot of movies, I think.
Ah, fuck. Anyway, all right. Let's start with Get Out.
Okay, Get Out. Get Out. Well, here's the thing about Get Out is I'm like publicly on the record for saying like this movie's overrated and it's a little bit boring. I didn't get it, but
that's crazy.
I know I've come around on this film because, we talk about it a lot. You see movies in different circumstances, whatever. I do remember the first time I saw this movie in the theaters in Astoria with Sarah, and about an hour in, I remember I turned to her and was like, "Is anything going to happen in this movie?" I have to say, like the first time seeing it and thinking this is a thriller and it's amazing and you got to see it and it's scary and it's awesome. The first time I saw it, I was like, 60 minutes in, I'm like, what the fuck? Why has nothing happened?
Well, did you see it once it got like super hyped?
I guess so. It must have been. I mean, it was hyped early because it was already, movies now when they come out, they're already hyped.
Yeah, but no, well, Get Out was an interesting situation because Get Out was being promoted as this kind of like independent horror movie. And it wasn't like people thought it was just gonna be like a stupid, silly movie. And then it came out and the reviews were off the roof, like 100% shit,
through the roof.
Through the roof, and I got suicide on my mind, and through the roof, and also like it just in theaters, people went crazy for it. It was like such a, I think in a way, Parasite had a similar thing. Like a couple years later, like people just like went crazy. It became such a big hit, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I thought I was going to see a horror movie, which, by the way, for years, I've wanted to write a horror movie because I've always wanted to write movies and make movies. And I always feel like horror movies are like the easiest to make.
Right.
Writing scary is easier than writing, funny, obviously, or dramatic. I mean,
it's easiest to sell, too.
Yeah, it's scary. And there's a guy with a knife in the house and you call whatever. But so that's kind of what I thought is I was kind of like, first of all, bitter that I was like, oh, this is a comedian that's going to make a horror movie. I wanted to do that, whatever. Yeah. And I went and saw it and I was expecting a horror movie and it's quite slow. And then the second time I saw it, I was like, that's better than I thought. Now that I really like this movie. And now I just watched it, I think a third time. I hadn't watched it a couple of years. And I'm like, this movie is quite brilliant. I mean, it is really an amazing script. And I even was like, I can't believe it won best screenplay. That's bullshit. But now I'm like, that is a fucking pretty amazing screenplay.
It's interesting because I'm like, I've loved this movie for years. Like to me, I've always said it's like the perfect screenplay. I love it. This is the first time watching it. I realized I have a big issue with it because we've got to turn around. I still love it. So I got to set that up. I mean, it's an incredible movie. I mean, to me, yeah, I don't know if it's a horror movie, but it's thrilling. I mean,
it's a thriller.
It's a thriller. The black guy running towards him. I mean, even if the black guy was walking towards him, either way, I mean, it's just like thrilling.
Does that make sense though? That part, sorry, I don't want to jump into, why is the grandfather sprinting at night?
Because he's, wait, isn't he the one who, no, he's not the one who lost to Jesse Owens, is he? No. Is he? That would make a lot of sense because he's a runner and he's like training.
Yeah, I guess it's just weird that he's sprinting.
Well, he's just using his body in a way where people aren't watching. You know,
I guess, but
he can't do it. He can't do it later. He can't do it in the day because everyone's watching, going, "Why that?"
Okay, so it makes some sense, but it feels like it's good, but it's a stretch. It's a stretch because it's like clearly they want it to be like it makes sense. He runs at night, so no one can see him. He likes to run. But also, like, they want it to be like this scary thing where he's running straight at him. So it's like, it is weird that he's sprinting straight at him in like a hat and jacket.
Well, there's also a sense that he like, this guy's plowing his daughter. You know what I mean? So, I mean, his granddaughter. So there's a little tension there. He might be wanting to freak him out a little, I
guess so. I suppose so.
I think the movie's great. Like, the movie is, I mean, I think for a long time, like back in the day, horror movies were full of social commentary, That was kind of the beginning of them, like Night of the Living Dead had a lot to do with racial relationships and stuff like that. So this is like kind of bringing back this social commentary movie, the way Black people feel out of place in situations, And I thought it I thought it was pretty awesome because it's also like one of the things that's great about like my parents watched it and they didn't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for them, they need a movie about race to be like Green Book, where it's just like racism is bad and, we should let Black people drink water in the water fountain. They want something easy.
Right.
Where you can be like, that's bad. But we already know that's bad. We're no longer doing segregation. Like, that's an easy movie. This is a movie about tensions now.
Right.
And that's what's so brilliant about it. Like, it actually deals with shit that has not been solved. And that's what's pretty awesome, that you're watching a movie that deals with issues that have not been solved,
Yeah, I think so. To me, that's not what makes the movie great, though.
What do you think?
That's a fun underlying thing, and it's addressed and it's interesting, and it has these interesting things of like, I would have voted for Obama a third time, and what's interesting is these are pretty much liberal people. They're not really overtly racist people, so it is like this subtle thing.
It's like a horror movie about microaggressions.
Yeah, which is even creepier. That like even like progressive liberal people are quite racist is the statement here, right?
Which is what I like. I feel like that's because every other movie is just like, we don't want Black people in our swimming pool, whatever. Like this is a movie that's dealing with it's like a mirror to us, not just a fucking attack on. Not how many movies have we seen where like just the racist is just some like fucking cartoon idiot? You know what I mean?
Yes, and they're still coming out more and more. They're like, there's
Yes.
no black people can't run it.
It's like we've been through this. We know, everyone knows this is wrong. No one's watching. Like it's like it. Yeah. So this is like a cool thing to deal with. Like, and that's why my parents didn't get it, because they are that person. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that makes it interesting and compelling, but there's a lot more than just that makes it great.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, there's just so many layers. Also, shout out to this, and this is the thing that I took from it the first time, Lil Rel, who I did live at Gotham with and hung out with for like one day 10 years ago. But we had a great time.
Amazing.
He's amazing. I mean, like, that is like a star-making performance. He's fucking hilarious and such a great character. I think every character is written so well in this movie and acted so well. I mean, the kid playing the brother is such a great fucking creepy psycho. I think Daniel Kaluuya, I think is how you say his name.
He's amazing. Yeah.
He's amazing. He's amazing in everything. And Allison Williams is great. And Brad Whitford, that's like his best performance.
Brad Whitford's great. But don't you think Brad Whitford's a little, I kind of noticed this the first time I reminded, he kind of channels Steve Carell a little, if you watch it in the beginning. He kind of has the same like nervous, like the kind of like the kind of laugh of Steve Carell.
I could see that a little bit.
But yeah, he's great. Yeah, no, I mean the whole opening, I mean, like all this shit they're saying to him and all the awkwardness is like incredible. And also to me, it's like it's such a personal movie, because this is a movie, yes, it's about like the tensions between black and white people, but it's also like very much the fears of black people, because this was written by a guy, a black man. So it's like these are the fears, these are like the uncomfortabilities, these are the fears. So it feels very personal, you know?
Yeah, I mean the opening sequence is amazing.
So amazing. Yeah, let's talk about that, because we gotta.
I think that's what bothered me initially the first time, because the opening scene is so good and so fucking thrilling and weird, and it perfectly displays that thing, which I can't imagine what it's like for black people, because when I walk in the neighborhood, by the way, I've had 2 incidences this year where I was one-on-one with a crazy street transit person. I had to run because I'm terrified. So now just walking the street, I'm terrified all the time. So to be a black person in one of these rich neighborhoods or well-to-do neighborhoods, affluent neighborhood is the word.
Yes.
Is creepy. And then anytime, and regardless of race or gender, but more so for a black person, I'm sure, a car coming up and flipping around, that scene is just creates such an amazing tension.
What I think is so brilliant about that scene too is like the fact that it's suspenseful before the car comes. The fact that it's just kind of a horror movie, just in the sense of a black guy in a rich neighborhood. Like that's what's amazing about this movie, is that it's like, it takes the hard trope, but also deals with the actual horror of life. And like the minute you see him in that neighborhood, you as an audience member gets worried. And that's an incredible thing for a movie to like reflect, to be like, this is how fucked up America is. You're just looking at a black man in a rich neighborhood and you're already feeling like it's Jaws with the dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean? That's such an incredible way to show where we're at in a society, and how fucking basically the joke of the movie, which is like being a black guy is kind of like being in a horror movie, you know?
Well, but a couple things though. Don't you think, like, you're going in knowing this is a thriller horror movie. So of course the tension is up. Like, you are watching knowing something's going to happen. If you were watching a rom-com and you saw a black guy walking in that same neighborhood, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, this is Jaws.
No, but you got it. You do watch that in the opening and start to think about, you know, a black, like Trayvon Martin or something. You do start to think about that shit right away. I think that's the point.
Yes. I mean, it is the point, but I guess I'm just saying I'm a pussy. And even if it was a white nerd, I'd be like, oh geez, that's scary. Walking around in a neighborhood.
You're like, I know what it's like to be a black guy, because I'm a coward.
I said the exact opposite earlier, but thanks for making me look like an asshole. But I am saying, like, you walk around in a strange neighborhood, you're not in the car, you are like whatever. So I'm just saying it's spooky either way. But yes, that is what they're saying there.
But that's what's such a cool, like, and the black guy in the movie, the horror movie, has always been the black guy in the horror movie has always been the guy who's like the ancillary character, just comes and gets killed at the end. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's always, they're very rarely like the main person, and it's very rarely the white people who are the things that you're scared of in the horror movie. So it so brilliantly uses this genre to express so many fears about racial tensions, you know, and that's kind of brilliant on its own right.
The one thing I would push back on is the white guy in the horror movie is usually the scary guy.
Is he?
This Chainsaw Massacre, that's a white guy.
Halloween. Right. Well, I mean, yes, the white guy's usually everyone in the horror movie. Yeah.
Right.
But the white guy's also the main character.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? The white guy's also the main character.
Of course.
And,
yes.
Is this going to get political?
No, I'm just saying, I'm like, there's not a lot of horror movies other than like Candyman, which I'm excited for the new one produced by Jordan Peele. That's the only one where there's a black guy that's the killer.
Scariest one. No, but
well, yeah. I saw that in the theaters when I was like 10. It was a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a very scary movie. I mean, just a black guy in a parking lot, whether he has a hook or not, you know. All right, I've done this joke 14 times now, but
anyway, let's get to the scenes. All right,
I just think that's incredible. I still think the tension of that is incredible, and to use a horror movie to show this racial tension is brilliant. It's using a genre that we know to deal with actual things in real life, and that's incredible. And you don't see that a lot. It was very amazing at the time, you know.
Yeah, exactly. At the time, 4 years ago.
And then like in the next scene, you're like, oh, do they know I'm black? You know what I mean? And then there's already this tension. So it's just like, it's an incredible setup. The deer is that's a good jump scare.
It is. Yes. That's what I mean. I'm like, the first 10 minutes are scary and thrilly. But no, the opening scene is amazing. Also, the way it is shot, I actually really think Jordan Peele is like a brilliant filmmaker. Like, his direction is great in both these movies, even though the other movie I don't like nearly as much. But like the way it's like tight on him, and you see all this over here, and you're waiting for something, and it just turns, and the thing is already coming. The guy we learn later with that fucking weird mask on is fucking great. I mean, that is like an amazing
one shot, baby.
Yeah, it is like one of the best opening. Like, to me, it's like up there with like Inglourious Bastards with like best opening scenes. It's so fucking freaky.
It's so great, and it is an incredible opening. It is an incredible opening movie.
And the way he carries him like he's getting dragged with his feet. I mean, getting dragged behind a car just feels so.
There's so much, yeah. Like in the just a car pulling up, you're just like, it's so much like, oh, is this going to be another black guy getting shot? Kind of like, you know, there's so much shit within with so much memory you put into this movie, you know, so many news stories and everything you put into it. No, that opening is incredible. They're like, the acting at the beginning is just amazing between them both, you know, it's just like very natural. That's very important for a horror movie, for it to like the acting to be believable and good, you know, that's like horror movies. The most important thing in horror movies, you need fucking good actors, because the plot itself is going to be kind of stupid, you know? So it's so important that you have good actors. And a lot of horror movies have bad actors, and they just become unwatchable, you know?
Right. And also, this plot isn't stupid. I mean, wouldn't you agree? I mean, I think this plot, I guess the body snatching part, is that what you mean is stupid?
Well, that's my issue with it. I think the movie is great until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, you keep saying that, and that's interesting because I don't feel that way. I like the last 10 minutes. I don't think it's as great, but I don't know how to talk about this movie. I didn't take my dumb notes because I'm an idiot and I'm busy making my own piece of shit movie. But I think it's really great all the way through, and there's some really funny parts, and it is like this weird spooky thing. But the end is fun to me, and I think it's like clever and surprising. I really love the deer at the beginning, and then the callback to the deer when he kills him with the big buck is fun.
I guess my issue is the ending. And I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies still, even with that ending, is that once they reveal the thing, all the whole family just plays it like evil characters in a sketch. You know, it's just shots of them looking really evil. And I guess part of me thought it's okay, but I guess part of me thought it could have gone further and had actually shown how they really act at the end as those like white family, and like delved into that. But instead it like just did a kind of SNL sketch, them evil, and I thought that made it kind of like a shallow ending. It's just like, I'm just like, all right, he's just killing cartoon characters. It became a sketch by the end, I guess. I thought.
But don't you think there is something that they are evil? The rest is it's like the rest.
No, they are evil, but there's no. Yes, they are evil, but like if you watch the way they act once it's revealed, there's nothing to it. They're just like, like they're not like, they just become like robot. Like they're not like. Show how they're like, they all start getting killed. They don't care that their family's killed. They're just like, get him. They're just cartoon characters. It's like it just gets, there's just nothing to them once the reveal is.
I love that you're like, show how they're evil. I'm like, I don't know. They have a guy tied up to a chair and they're drilling into his skull.
No, I know, but it just, you don't feel that way. That it's just literally, if you watch the ending, it's just shots of them going like just looking evil. Like it's like very cartoony.
But I think at that point, the veil has been pulled down. You're like, okay, now we're in a horror movie. Now we're giving you what we promised you. Here's the horror movie part. Because that's what's so interesting about it is this is a horror movie. You're going to see a new horror by Jordan Peele, and you're like, wow. And then you're watching, you're going, this isn't even a horror movie at all. The beginning was scary, but the rest is sort of this weird, long, drawn-out setup. And then it pulls this curtain down of like, they're evil, and check it out. Now you got a horror movie. He's got to run. He's got to get away. And they're these like sort of robotic, scary people. I see what you mean, but this is what I would say.
I get, and it's a minor critique because this is the thing with horror movies in general. It's like I love the suspense. You thought the suspense, but I think the suspense throughout the movie of not knowing what's happening is incredible.
Yes.
But I think once you reveal the brain thing, like once you reveal that, it becomes very like Frankenstein-y. Like I guess I feel like the tension lifts in the movie, and it feels a little just kind of dumb at that point. That's the trick with horror movies in general. Horror movies, typically the actual story is going to be dumb, so you want to hide it as long as possible. You know, that's why Rosemary's Baby is so smart, because Rosemary's Baby is a great movie, which was one of the stupidest stories ever. Like these witches get a guy to agree to drug and rape his wife by Satan just so he can get a part in a play. Like it's insane. But they just like, it's not even a part in a movie, a part in a play. Like it's crazy. But then they wait till the very last like couple minutes to reveal it, you know? Right. And that's why you don't have enough time to realize how dumb it is. And then they're all like goofy at the end. This movie reveals it. It's 10 minutes, and it's just like a little like for me, I'm just sitting there going, all right, but it is kind of just dumb now, you know? That's where I felt.
What? I love Rosemary's Baby, but I agree. And we've talked about this before on the show, is that like every horror movie I've ever seen, I love for like 45 minutes, and then they reveal it's like, it's a kid who's spooky.
Because the reveal is always bad. By the way, hilarious thing in Rosemary's Baby. You know how he like, the Satan rapes her, right? And then the next day she's like, why am I sore? And his alibi is like, oh, you fell asleep and I just fucked you. Like his alibi is that he raped her. Like that's his excuse to get out of it.
It's almost like the director just like doesn't even understand
consent.
Yeah.
You're saying that? I don't know, but apparently it's a director who's very interested in a story about a devil drugging and raping a woman.
I told you my Roman Polanski story that I think Alan Havey told me.
What was it? Oh, maybe you did tell me.
He was at a party, like a Hollywood party, and Roman Polanski was there, and this is like secondhand for him, but a friend of his was standing there with like Roman Polanski and two other people, and they were like, wow, that woman's beautiful. She's so young. She's like, gotta be like, what, 16? And Roman Polanski just stared and goes, 15.
It's like it's own firm, you know, it is like bird watching. Yeah. Little kid watching. He knew the
it was like 1 year. Like 1 year is such a small difference, but he's like, he can see it. Like he knows the difference between 15 and 16.
The only thing that would have been worse if he was like 15, a cougar. Like that was the only thing that could have made that worse. But yeah,
we're 40 minutes in. We haven't even talked about it.
Fine. We'll focus. Yeah. So I love the movie, but once you do the reveal, and then it's all the characters just act, because he is a sketch guy, you know, Jordan. So he knows how to do the make it look exactly like a horror movie, you know. But it does at the end just become a sketch. And then I'm just kind of like, all right, well, you know. I do think the cop thing is kind of cool at the very end, you know, because you're like, fuck, is he about to get shot?
I love that reveal. That part's for me. And the cotton in the ear worked for me. And then again, also so layered that like him picking this cotton saves his life. I mean, that's a layer. There's so many amazing layers in it. Stephen Root is great. And you really don't know what's going on, which makes it a movie you have to see a second time, which is fun.
Well, it's a whole different movie the second time.
Yeah. And I see what you mean. But to me, it's just fun. And yes, I always lose it because that's not what I'm interested in. And we'll talk about this more with us. Like once it becomes like chase scene and running and kill, I'm just not into that. That's not my thing.
Because their mysteries reveal. I find that. Do you find that? It's not just this movie. A lot of movies I'll rewatch a movie and then I'll get to the last 10 minutes. It's just action at the end. I'll just turn it off.
Yes,
like it's exactly. like I turned off. I love The Fugitive. I was watching it, and then the last scene is just them fighting on a roof. I'm like, all right, I got to the end. You know what I mean? Like
Fugitive exactly like that. Once they're at that conference, I don't.
Yeah. I just turn it off.
Movie. It's my favorite movie ever until that point. And I said the same thing last week with Exorcist. Once they're doing the exorcism, the Exorcist, I'm just like, okay, got it. You lost me. I don't care anymore. I feel that completely.
I feel that way. Once they reveal the thing at the end, I was just like, all right, whatever. But
Cable got the same way. I always talk about that. After Porno Password, I turn it off. I'm like, that was a great movie.
Yes, and that's fine. And Get Out is still incredible. I just think the last 10 minutes. I think they're just so cliched in the last 10 minutes, the way they act, that I'm just like, I don't care. But like, they're just like, get him. It would have been interesting to see their actual, like, if they like, because they're really great characters in the movie. They're so interesting.
But here's
and then they become they just become a herd. What's the Cheerios or the Fruit Loops? Like, it's just becomes so like just shots of them looking evil. And I would have liked to see it. I know it sounds crazy because it's such a goofy story, but I would have liked to see him try just one more draft where he tried to see, maybe show how they act as those people, you know?
But I think it works for me, I guess, because it's fun in a few different ways. I lose my points because right when you say something that I'm like, I got a counterpoint for this, then you talk for another 7 minutes and I lose my point.
Right.
But
Americanos, first of the day.
Yeah, well, whatever. I couldn't think of a joke. But at the end, I mean, first of all, they're like, get them. They have to, because they have this great affluent life. They can't get caught because they have an amazing life. So they're like, we have to get him because if he gets out, if we get out, we will lose this ability. And also, it's like, that's what's so amazing is they've been putting on this act so well throughout the entire thing. And then the great character too, the Stephen Root character, who's literally like, hey, don't lump me in with them. I don't care about your race. I just want to see, which is this great character. This guy who's like, I'm not racist at all, but I am going to benefit from these people robbing you, which is a beautiful layer.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Really interesting.
But that family, once they reveal it, does not have that interest.
Right.
And they have no motivation. They're just like, why are they? There's no real. They're just doing it because that's the movie. But like, there's no real, like, they're not real characters at that point. He is kind of, you know.
But he does. You have to say, at least from the looking at like craftsmanship of directing and storytelling, he does such an amazing job of portraying. Even if you don't care for the script, I understand. But like the way he directs and tells the story of like the scratching the thing and pulling the cotton out, which is a great reveal, and then the way the white ring around the guy's head and just the blood squirting and pulling it's such a great job. And Bradley Whitford getting killed by the deer head is so great. He comes out of nowhere and it's a good jump scare. He's really a brilliant storyteller. Yes.
And let me tell you, I don't want to come off as a douche. I love this movie. We're just talking. I just gotta say, like, that's the one issue I have with the movie. And probably, I bet honestly, a lot of people probably like watching like, God, this movie's such a great ride. Last 10 minutes are a little like whatever, but it's such a great ride at that point anyway. You're like, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean. But and I do think like once it's like this action movie driving in a car, I lose interest, but I do love the reveal of its Lil Rel at the end. And I also still have, there's more to this movie of like, there's still going to be a huge murder and they're going to know he was there. Like he's still going to get in trouble, right? Did you feel like?
Yeah, I froze. I feel like once he'll be able to explain it, they'll go downstairs and see the brain cut out. You know, that's a pretty good.
Oh no. Fuck.
All right, let me just my.
Raanan's having Wi-Fi issues.
Hello.
Yes.
For some reason, it's not.
I think it kicked you off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
We're talking about bad endings. This is.
But we're good now.
You sound great now.
All right. You can just send me both, and I can cut them up or however you want to do it.
Well, I pause, so it'll just pick right back up. It'll be fine, I think.
All right, fine. Oh, okay, cool, perfect. So. Yeah, what we're saying. No, yeah. So I just think the last 10 is just like Bradley Whitford at the fires, mortality, and them all. It's just like goofy, but it's amazing till then. And I got to tell you my the fact that it's such an homage to being John Malkovich. We talked about this, right?
Oh yeah, talk about it here.
That's my theory, my fan theory. It's so influenced by being John Malkovich because it's literally a group of people. Because at the end of being John Malkovich, it's a group of old people. using a body to go through so they can keep on living.
Right.
So
Right.
it's essentially it's basically like a new, like not a new version, but like what?
A ripoff?
A ripoff? No, because it's an homage, because they have Catherine Keener in the movie, and they have the little door in the Allison Williams room. The little door.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so fucking right about this, right?
Yeah, I think you're on. I think you're dead on.
Like, I feel like if I talk to Jordan Peele, I was gonna call him Jordan Peterson. If I talk to Jordan Peele, he'd be like, "Yeah, now you try to make a movie, you piece of shit, and you try to get this ending right." But yeah, I think it's very much an homage, and even kind of similar. Like, in being John Malkovich, he's taken John Malkovich to become like a successful puppeteer. And this guy, Stephen Root's taking him over to become get a good eye for photography.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And that's what I like about Jordan Peele and filmmakers. He's the kind of filmmaker I like, because I know that every detail has been thought of and there's a reason for everything on screen. When I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, why is the VHS the Goonies? That's something. He's not putting on there that's not on purpose. And there's Easter eggs.
Why is it Goonies?
Well, at the end of the movie, switching to us now, there's a line straight from the Goonies where she says, "This is our time up here," which is the reverse of the line in Goonies. He's like, "This is our time down here."
Right.
As soon as she said it, I was like, "That's line from Goonies," and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that's earlier."
Well, he has that. Yeah,
the secret of the ground world.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. But wait, Goonies is in Get Out.
Is it?
Oh, you're saying in Us the tape is Get Out. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying the Goonies tape was in Get Out, but the reference was in Us.
No, the references end tape is in Us. The opening shot in Us, I think it's the opening shot, is Hands Across America, the TV, and it's a slow zoom, and then there's a bunch of VHSs. One of them is The Right Stuff, and one of them is the Goonies, and there's a line directly from the Goonies in the movie.
Yeah, no, he definitely he has that Tarantino thing. He has like a lot of knowledge of film, and he puts like homages and stuff in. It's very referential at times, obviously.
Yeah, which is kind of stuff I love.
Yeah, no, he's very carefully thought out, and it's the kind of movies where you rewatch, you're watching a whole different movie, and it's all perfectly set up, everything,
Yeah, but, let's talk about Us, because unless are you done?
No, I'm done. Yeah, let's talk about Us. Yeah.
Okay, we love it. Get Out is a great debut. It's one of the great debuts, wouldn't you say?
I'd say even more than that. It's the only movie by a black guy I like that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, it's an amazing debut. It's one of the best. It's a perfect script. Besides the last 10 minutes, it's so thrilling, so funny, so well acted, and it's not a fucking ounce of fat on it. Beautiful script.
Yeah, and then it is like a sketch where Lil Rel's talking to the police. I mean, that's
incredible. That woman police officer is so great. Her whole reaction to that whole experience is amazing. It's also like Lil Rel, it's such an amazing character, the black guy who's never at any point really that surprised by what's happening.
Right.
Like I told you.
Yeah, he gets it, and he's hilarious. No, he's amazing. He's my favorite character in the movie.
Oh, yeah,
he's so fun, so funny.
The part where they just, after all the shit at the house, and it just cuts to him calling Lil Rel, and Lil Rel's opening line is like, "Yeah, they got you on display now."
No, he's great, and that's one of the things that's lacking from Us, is a character that is that good and that funny. This movie, Us, again, I'm gonna say I think it's really well directed. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, there's some beautiful stuff in it, the way it is shot, and there are really scary, unsettling, thrilling moments. But I don't know if it's just the mood I've been in each time. The first time I saw it was when I got robbed in San Jose. Sarah and I had just lost all of our stuff stolen from our suitcase. I mean, from our car, literally 100% of our belongings. So it was devastating. We went to the movies and I was just pissed. And I don't know. This movie's not for me. I don't get it. It makes me feel dumb. I'm like, I don't understand a lot of it. And I just don't. I think there's huge flaws. I don't understand the fucking thing, the ending, how is it? So are there 4 billion people underground? And when we shit, they shit. And when we fuck, they fuck. Why do we look identical? What the fuck is this?
So this is what I think this is what you're reacting to. It's how I feel too. Get Out has this actual concrete story about like taking black people, putting the bodies in. It has this like real concrete story, which you then watch, and then there's this metaphorical implication about what that's saying about society and race relations. This movie has no concrete explanation. It's purely a metaphor that they try to explain concretely and fail at. So it makes no actual realistic sense. He kind of started with the metaphor and never had the explanation. So you're like, and by the way, I think it's a great metaphor. I actually think what I like about the movie is it's like the idea that there's people with our exact genetic makeup who just have nothing is such a effective metaphor about life.
Explain the metaphor, because I don't even understand the metaphor. That's what's so frustrating. I don't understand the allegory, the metaphor, the symbolism. I don't understand anything about this movie. And I feel bad because my favorite part of the movie is when the white people are getting murdered in the White House. Like, that is like, well, where it's like
that part's scary. Like
from outside, it's more spooky, it's more scary.
Yeah.
The scene where the tethered people show up at the main family's house is just so long. I can't stand her voice. I don't understand. It's hard to understand what she's saying. I have to watch it with subtitles. And it's just so long.
Once upon a
I
time.
feel like that's a sign that scene is long and hard to understand.
All right, let me tell you what I think the metaphor for me means, and then we can talk about like where it fails. I think for me, it's like, for me, the way I connected to, which I still connect to, so I have mixed feelings about this movie. I think the metaphor is effective, is that there are people in the world who are starving, who have no value, and yet they're the exact same genetic makeup as us. They're human beings.
I see.
And yet arbitrarily, they have nothing and we have everything. And yet we think somehow we're entitled to it, for even though genetically we're the exact same. So that to me is the metaphor of this movie. There are people who are exactly like us, the exact genetic makeup. Kind of like in this, it's specifically those people, but it's that thing, the exact genetic makeup, and yet they have nothing and we have everything. And that's how society works. And we just want to believe that that's destiny.
Well, that I love. That explanation I love, because I feel that way. And people talk about white privilege and just privilege in general. I'm like, it's such a privilege that, like, not Sam Harris talks about this all the time, is like, not just that I'm white or whatever, because it's easy to be like, well, I come from a blue collar family, my parents have no money and I worked really hard, but it's like, just that I have a brain and a talent that made me want to work hard is a privilege. That the idea that I even had the idea of succeeding and the ability to be funny,
and to me, it's just the real absurdity of life that we all, I think, ignore on some level. That kid starving in Africa right now, he is no different than us. He's genetically the same. He's no different. He's a human being, but because of the way things are set up, his life means so little and our life means so much. Like, our life has so much value and his life has no value. And it's not like he's a fucking bird or a fucking, like, he's not like a fucking ant. He is a human being.
Which we agree have no values, bird and ants.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm doing it again now with birds and ants. Yeah. So like
now that you're saying this, I'm like, I love this movie.
It's an incredible metaphor. Yeah.
I do believe that, because people talk about privilege. I'm like, if you're in the United States of America, you're privileged. If you have an iPhone,
yes,
like the fact that you were just born here is so lucky, that you were born at all, that you were born without cancer or with all your limbs.
That's why I think, that's why I think he hurts his metaphor a little when she comes in and he goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "We're Americans." I feel like that kind of narrows the metaphor because it's more universal than that. And it's also just kind of like that's him really trying to show the metaphor real hard. This is America. You know what I mean? But like, I do think that metaphor is so effective. And then the flip at the end is so incredible, which is that she was the have-not person and she switched over. I mean, that to me shows you how her switching over shows you how arbitrary it all is.
But didn't you figure that out earlier? Like, they kind of do it like a reveal at the end, but I can't remember now the first time I saw it. I'm pretty sure like 3/4 of the way through, you're like, oh, I see what's going on here.
You might have figured out. I did not. I mean, she grunts a couple times, like when she kills someone, which is like kind of like the telegraph. But like, I did not know. I actually think it's an incredible twist. And I actually think in a way, Get Out's kind of incredible the whole time, and Us has like the better ending. I think the ending of Us is actually pretty amazing.
So how are they explain the hands across America? Because this helicopter shot and they're all still doing it. And are they all not a danger anymore? It feels like the problem has been solved.
No, they're a danger. This is like the beginning of like a revolution. Okay. This is the have-nots taking over is what I think. Yeah. I mean, to me, so that's where I think the metaphor is. And I think the metaphor is brilliant. This is where Get Out works and Us doesn't. In Get Out, there's a lot of metaphors about Black people not feeling like they can be themselves in society, all that, but it's all told within this story of like taking over the bodies, that makes sense. It's not like, if you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes sense on some level. Get Out.
Yes.
This movie, they try to have an explanation for the metaphor, and it's just bananas. It just doesn't work. He thinks if he can say, there's a bunch of tunnels underground in the beginning of the movie, he thinks that's going to clear it up, and it does not.
That's where I'm like, wait, what? And these people are smart enough to give birth and have modern medicine and like Tylenol and
the reason you're not understanding it is because you're not supposed, it doesn't make sense. And the problem here is like, I think personally he should have just made the movie like magical realism and not tried to have a scientific explanation, because then you can be like, whatever. But he tries to explain it. He basically says the government created these clones of people, but without souls, and they were kind of running things, but then from underground, but then they just got abandoned and they're all like just sitting there. But it just makes it's just too convoluted, and there's no real. He tries to scientifically explain a metaphor, and that makes it even more chaotic.
Well, and aren't there problems so the kid, as I understand it, and this is a movie that I'm like, I'm just too dumb to understand. I can't wrap my head around it.
It's not that you're too dumb. It's his fault. Don't victim blame.
Okay, I appreciate that. But so the kid, the young boy, he backs up so his alternative will back up into the fire. Sort of implying that whatever you do, they do. But that hadn't been the case, which is in the previous scene,
which is an inconsistent thing.
Hugely inconsistent.
I guess he would, maybe Jordan Peele would say, well, the kid realizes that if he just focuses, they can do that. But yeah, it's a usually inconsistent moment. And also, I mean, it gets to the point where it gets really bad, where it's like when she handcuffs her at the end, the main girl, the actual girl from above, you then see her putting on her Thriller shirt. Do you remember this?
Yes.
But she already has a Thriller shirt.
Yeah, why wouldn't she? Yeah.
She already has a Thriller shirt. And then it also begs the question, where'd she get that Thriller shirt?
Yeah, exactly. That world, like you said, in Get Out, the world makes sense. It's a little sci-fi. You can't do that, but it makes sense.
It's familiar. It's like a familiar concept.
This is like, where are they getting the clothes? And also, it's like, are there 6 billion? There's in China, in Vietnam, in fucking Canada. That's all happening everywhere. And like I said, they shit, they fuck. Why do they look identical?
They're clones that were created by the government that didn't have, but like they share a soul. It doesn't make sense. I think he needed to work on the explanation. This is the hardest part of horror movies, trying to explain stuff. And it really hurt on this one. Like he just doesn't know how to explain it. And the rules do change. And like at the end, it's like, I mean, by the end, when they're all just doing the exact same thing downstairs and upstairs, and also like, has no one ever gone down there and seen what's going on?
And there's no guard to go upstairs. She's the first and only girl to go upstairs.
Well, I don't know if you've seen them all, but they're a little touched in the head.
I guess so.
But then, if they're touched in the head, why is it?
It just doesn't. I don't understand. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I start to feel dumb. But
the metaphor is great.
I do think again, the storytelling, the filming is beautiful. Like the way it's shot, and I love all the carnival stuff. Is just so beautiful at the beginning and creepy. But
I think there's
really scary scenes. They create tension really well. And I texted you about this. The thing I hated the first time and hate still, the dad, I just think is so bad, because I think he's a British actor trying to do American, so his accent is insane. Like he's tough. Yeah. There's one point where he's in the bathroom, they're getting ready for bed, and he says like, whoa, like it sounds insane. And he's just so inept and so goofy and so moronic. He has no like redeeming quality at any point. He's just a complete bumbling moron that it's like offensive to me.
I liked him. I mean, I don't know. I guess the accent didn't bother me. You're very accent sensitive.
The voice
I don't
is
know.
insane. It's insane. I'm like, you gotta like. He should have just been British,
Is he
or like,
British?
I think he's a British actor trying to do, like, you can tell he's masking an accent. I find it so distracting. He says things like, he sounds like Daniel Simonson at times. It doesn't make any sense, and he's just so goofy and inept. The boat thing I just thought was dumb, and it was just so like, I banged my head. That whole sequence of when the Tether people first get there is just so like long and like arduous.
Well, I think this is another problem in the movie too. I like the father. I think he's good, but the other problem in the movie is that like the tethered people are kind of scary, but the minute they come in the house and she starts talking, I'm like, it's all lost now. I don't know. The minute that's the problem with horror movies. Once you start talking, it's just like I think that scene where she explains shit, that should have been at the end, and that should have just been a family chasing them, and you should have had no idea why. And it would have been much scarier. But the minute she goes inside and goes, once upon a time, I'm like, it's all lost. It's, you know what it is?
I agree.
Get out the last 10 minutes where they explain shit. They kind of do that a little in that moment. And it's so early on that you're like, the tension's gone. She's talking. It's like,
I agree. And it is. It's scary when they're outside. There's really spooky shit. They're outside and they're banging on the thing, and he is scary. Sorry for burping. They do make weird fucking noises and stuff. It's scary. And why are they so scared of the little kid? That always bothers me in horror movies too. The little boy, I'm like, he's like a 7-year-old. Just kick him in the fucking face. I don't understand that. Seriously. He's like chasing him like a spider. I'm like, just fucking beat the shit.
I also like, I don't think that family is that scary because it's like that you can just tell they're not going to kill the main family. So there's like, it's much scarier when the family kills the other family because you're like, oh, now there's some killing here happening. But like, you know what it is? The shadow, her, when she comes in, it follows that really awful trope, which is the villain explaining their plan to the other person. Right. Like, it's just like, she's like, what are you telling a fable now? Just fucking kill the bitch. Like, it's like, quit explaining shit. That's not scary.
Right. And like I said, it does feel strangely like the problem's been solved.
I know.
And then they're flying. And I don't understand the Hands Across America. What is going on there? Why are they doing that across the world?
I don't think the problem's been solved. I guess the head of the revolution is dead, but they're still making the statement, you know?
Right. I guess. So have they killed everybody? So that's why they're just holding hands? Is it like go kill your counterpart and then hold hands? So all those people have been killed?
I don't know. You're right. It kind of acts like everything's okay at the end.
They're flying away and you see the Hands Across America all the way through. I just don't understand the fucking movie.
Yeah, I think
it might be a me problem. I know
it's not a you problem. It's a convoluted. Don't do this to yourself. You're smart. It's a convoluted. He didn't like see it through. It's just kind of like. It became kind of like imagery without an explanation behind it, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, it's 95% Rotten Tomato. Everybody loves it and thought it was brilliant. But
I mean, look, I do think the metaphor is awesome, but yeah, I just think like, I've been saying this for years. The villain explaining shit to the person takes away all suspense for me. I think I talked about this earlier on. Like, I remember it was one year I was watching all these movies. It was like all these movies came out this year. It was like Mission Impossible, James Bond, Avengers, and every one of them was just a villain going, let me explain my plan to you before I mentally torture you and never actually try to kill you. And it's just like so boring. And then I watched Jungle Book. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw the original Jungle Book.
The new one. And I was like, Shere Khan is the best villain this year because the whole movie, he's literally just chasing Mowgli and trying to kill him. He's not trying to explain shit to him. He's not trying to tell a fable to him. He's not trying to be like, let me get you on my side. He's just trying to kill him. So in that opening scene when they break in, you're like, oh, they're not really trying to kill them. So what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah. And like I said, that scene is just long. It's long. I mean, it's like such a huge chunk of the movie is like him on the boat, the kid in the thing, the little girl.
Her talking is just not. I mean, it's so scary that you have a family following them that looks like them. But the minute she talks, you're like, oh, they're like, I don't know. It's just like they're just people now. They're not, you know, it's like hearing Michael Myers talk. It's like, oh, I'm going to get you. It's like it loses.
Yeah. And the performance is great. The woman's great. The kids are both great, which is rare.
They're great. They
hated the dad, but everybody was good. It's just, I don't know.
I think when I think it's that problem, that villain explaining shit, and then she just does it again at the end, and it's like, and yeah, and then the whole story doesn't make sense. But that metaphor is fucking. I mean, it sticks with me. That's where I have mixed feelings because I think the movie's funny at times, and I think it's like relatively entertaining, though not that suspenseful. Once she starts talking, it kind of like really. It's like if Get Out had that reveal 20 minutes in. It's just like, but I think that metaphor really resonates. Even with all the flaws, I think it resonates.
I like the metaphor, and it reminds me of like Sam Harris's "There's no free will, and we're all lucky," and all that stuff.
That's true.
So I like that. I like Sam Harris. That's my favorite part of this movie is Sam Harris. But you know what it is too? It's another movie, and we talk about this. It's a movie that I think is well directed and well acted, except for the dad, and probably well written. It's just not for me. I don't get it. It's not the kind of thing I like. And so I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't care for it.
You got to be a little, you don't need to be more arrogant, but you should be more confident. I really don't think it's you. You're just like this movie is really convoluted, and your reaction is like, I must be retarded. You got too much of that Boston low self-esteem,
Well, I mean, he's obviously a great writer, great filmmaker, and everybody says it's great. So I'm like, it must be me.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I know.
What if, by the way, when Robin Williams is saying that a bunch, what if Matt Damon didn't cry right there? Would he just keep on saying it till he cried? Was that the goal, to be like, I'm going to keep on saying this until you cry?
We talked about this when we talked about this movie, Good Will Hunting. It's my biggest flaw in any movie ever, is that I've already talked about this. This is a rerun, but Matt Damon literally goes to say thank you, and he cuts him off. He's like, I know. Like the whole point of the movie is Matt Damon is shut off, and he's been neglected and beat up, and he can't express himself. He's got this Irish abuse thing.
Yeah.
And he literally is like, I'm going to finally express myself. And his therapist goes, I know. Don't say it. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable flaw.
How hilarious would it be if I agree, but how hilarious would it be if you had a therapist in a one session, like it got emotional and they just start saying, it's not your fault. And they just kept on repeating it. And you just be like, "Are you doing Good Will Hunting right now?" like the idea that the therapist he's like, "I'm just gonna try to. I like Good Will. I'm gonna try to pull it in, flip it in."
He's like, "It's a great film."
I thought it would work. I don't know. It worked in the movie.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I think Us is it's interesting, but it's you can't. It should have. The problem is it was a metaphor, and then they try to explain the metaphor. And then that makes it even worse because they're like the tunnels and we clone them and all this. It's like you should have just had the metaphor and never explained it. Honestly, that would have been better. Like being John Malkovich. It's like if in being John Malkovich, they tried to explain why the door is there. That's what this is. It's like well, the door was put up by these scientists, and John Malkovich was walking by when the radiation came, and it hit John Malkovich. Like it's like they're trying to explain. Charlie Kaufman does a good job of like, oh no, it's magical realism. Like this should have been more magical realism, and they tried to give it a scientific explanation.
Right. It's kind of like, wait, you're not a Yorgos guy. Oh, you hate the lobster. You got to watch Killing of a Sacred Deer.
He's so fucking anti-humanistic. It's
I know, but you just watched one movie, right?
Oh, I actually watched another movie which I like, actually, The Favorite.
Oh yeah, The Favorite, which is his most digestible. You got to watch. We got to do this eventually, but
all right, I'll do Yorgos. Yeah.
Killing of a Sacred Deer and Dogtooth are amazing, and you will love both of them.
But do you love lobster? Because if you love lobster, I don't.
No, we talked about this. I don't love lobster. I think lobster should have been a short film. Like there's parts of it that I think are great, and then it just like is like what? It's not great.
There's so much cruelty to animals in that movie by a director who seems to not be upset by that.
Right. Well, I think he's trying to make you unhappy. Not you specifically, but
then I worked. I'm unhappy. What? I mean, I didn't like it.
That's
crazy. No, I was trying to make a bad movie that you didn't like. Oh well, I guess it worked.
But I'm so scared. I'm putting out a movie. I'm gonna have to quit and scrub this podcast by the time my movie comes out.
Nah, you're gonna just start being more and more supportive each time. You're gonna ruin this pod. You're just gonna be like, "No, it's great." You're just gonna be projecting the whole time.
I'm like, it's really hard. I mean, you know, possibly.
Are we gonna? Is the finale of this podcast gonna be just the movie? Let's talk about that.
That's a good idea. It's just bang, and then you just trash it.
I'm just like, I fucking hated it. And you're like, well, I mean, I think it had some good parts.
Like, I'm like, it was all his idea. I'm like, I said that. But I have to, yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to take a short hiatus from the movie because I'm gonna be 3 weeks of filming. I won't be able.
The message like I think it's like a therapist taking time off. We're gonna get some suicides.
What do you mean? From the
fans? Yeah, people really want to hear the pod. I mean,
well, they can catch up on old episodes.
You're like a psychiatrist going on vacation for a month. You're gonna have like get a bunch of suicide notes left.
It'll be like 3 weeks, but I won't be able to watch any movies, and I won't have.
Of course. You're making a movie. What are you gonna? Yeah, of course. 3 weeks, we can do it. Maybe I'm talking about myself. I'm gonna be the suicide.
Yes.
Should we just have the pod for the 3 weeks? Just be me alone talking about.
I don't think that would go. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun. It's an exciting time. I'm very stressed.
That'd be so funny if you like left the podcast and I thought I could still make it work with just me, like in The Office where Steve Carell leaves. Like I just like, well, it'll be fine. It'll just be alone talking.
I never watched those.
And people are like, I think it worked a lot better with someone else who was having a conversation.
When are you back from Lexington, Mass?
I'm going to Louisville tomorrow. I'm headlining tonight, Comedy Off Broadway. It's so sad because I know I didn't answer your question. I'm back Tuesday.
You're a road dog, man.
Dude, I'm the go-to opener this year, man.
Yeah, it's funny. Louis,
Whitney, and Sam.
Sam, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was great. He's got like fucking fans. It's amazing.
Who, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like 250,000 followers on Instagram. You know what I did? I made a mistake. I thought this internet thing wasn't going to catch on. I'm a little late on the Instagram shit.
Well, you know what he is? You're like young, but you're also kind of like old school. Like you have your foot in the internet, but you're also like an old school road comic. I feel like you were performing with like driving around with Quinn back in 1950. Like you're old school.
Yeah. No, I literally am like, I'm gonna keep posting pictures of sunsets. Mark and Sam are like, we're gonna do clips every day, viral clips, and they have like 300,000 followers, and I'm like, but check out this river. Don't you like a river?
But I was telling Sam, you're like happier than both of them.
Yes.
Like much happier.
But what can you do? And I do okay.
Yeah, you got fans, your fans, and you got happiness.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens when this movie comes out, and you fucking give it 2 thumbs down.
I guess. Is this coming out tomorrow? Oh yeah, so I'm headlining Planet of the Tapes tomorrow, and it's all pretty much sold out. But there might be a couple more tickets, but it's pretty much sold out.
Great. The best thing you can do for you, this is what Louis said years ago. The best thing you can do for your business is say, well, there's no space for you. We're sold out.
Oh, that's the best thing you can do for
any business. Like you have a restaurant, you're like, there's no seats available because people are like, Jesus, I got to come back when there's available. Or you're you're like, we sold out, but there's more coming. Or you have a show, you're like, it's completely sold out.
It's kind of hilarious that he gives career advice and we still listen to it.
Right.
No, I'm joking.
But it's a good point. Don't you think? You show up at an ice cream place and you're like, we're completely out of ice cream. You're like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, it's like what Proust, the French writer, said. The best way to have someone fall in love with you is just cancel the date.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's what they're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Of course, yeah. You gotta just you just gotta like say you're almost sold out. I do that all the time. I'm like 5 tickets left, or I'm like almost sold out. But it's like, barely.
But the problem is though, then the people that show up are like, oh, he's completely full of shit. Like it works for everyone else, but the people that are there, and it reminds me of a great story. Jake Johansson had this story. I think he was in like Appleton, and the comic, the feature was like on stage, and he's like, this guy over here is wearing shorts. I can see your balls, dude. And it gets like a laugh. And Jake Johansson's like, it's weird. It's like Appleton in January. Who's wearing shorts? So he's on stage looking. He doesn't see anybody. And then the next show,
he does it again.
Yeah, he's like, I can see your balls. And so Jake goes, hey, I didn't see anyone with shorts. Like, who has shorts? And he's like, oh, no, it's just a joke I did one. It works. It's funny. and Jake is like, but what about that whole section thinks you're insane? Everyone in that table is like, who the fuck's wearing shorts? Like,
dude, you know what's kind of funny? I feel like such a hack because so I do a bit about pegging,
Yes.
And sometimes when someone looks uncomfortable in the front seat, because the audience can get uncomfortable, so I usually pick on someone and go, look how uncomfortable he looks. Look at me. And I just like make him look at me. And it calms the audience down, you know? And usually there's someone who looks uncomfortable. But sometimes there are times where a guy's looking at me and he's not uncomfortable. And I'm like, look how uncomfortable he is. Look.
Oh, man.
I'm such a hack.
I hate that shit.
But here's the thing. It's only him in the front row. So only he's the one who knows I'm lying.
Right. That's the same story I just told.
Well, no, but the other people around the shorts.
Right. That's true.
I mean, I think they look a little uncomfortable. I just assume they're uncomfortable. I'm not that much of a hack, am I?
No, you're not a hack at all, except for this one thing.
Well, I just want to tell you real quickly that whole sold out thing. I once did a show in, I can't remember where. It was like I was headlining a small place. I think it was Curly's in New Hampshire or something. And the sign when I got there said only Raanan Hirschberg, only 30 tickets left. And it was literally like a 45-seat room. Like, I'm not joking.
It's hilarious. Well, you got to make it seem like something.
I know. It's so amazing opening for like these people, like, which like the crowds are incredible. And now I'm headlining for the next couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, I get to do more time, but I'm going to be back in the trenches where people are yelling homo and people are talking, you know?
Yeah, it's work.
Yeah. Anyway, but you have any?
I'm yes, Helium, Philadelphia. What's the fucking dates? I feel like people that listen to this podcast don't go out.
No,
you know what I mean? They're not buying.
Of course,
they're watching movies. September 23rd, 24th, 25th. Helium, Philadelphia. One of my favorite clubs. That's a big show, so please.
Oh, the best club.
That. Yeah, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and then I got a bunch of dates coming up. September. What the fuck is it? September 30th, October 1st and 2nd, I'm at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. And then I got Portland Helium, Zany, Chicago, all coming up in November, December. A lot of stuff. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. I'll be at, Planet Tapes fucking tonight. I guess it comes out Monday. So get tickets. Good Nights in Raleigh, August 21st. Helium and Indy, 27th, 28th. Also doing one of my favorite movie podcasts there. Well, I'll hopefully be able to promote the show. So am I allowed to say it? I don't know. They say like surprise guest. I mean, I know I'm not like actually like a surprise guest, but.
Well, at most 7,000 people will watch this. I mean, how many of them, you know?
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm doing Doug Loves Movies. So it's
right.
Yeah, it's going to be, which is, by the way, like a dream of mine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've always loved that pod because I just always think I think I can do so well on it.
Yikes!
I'm gonna do bad. I mean, like movie trivia. I mean,
oh, is that what they do? I've never listened to any podcast.
Yeah, no, I don't mean like I'm gonna be like hilarious. I'm sure I'll be awkward. I just think like the movie trivia will be really good.
Right.
And then I got some other shit, but actually I don't. That's literally all I have. I don't know why I said I have some other shit.
Subscribe to the podcast. Go subscribe either on YouTube or on podcast places, and join the Patreon. We got a Patreon. I'll put the link in.
And follow my Instagram. Oh, that's the other thing. Shit. Sorry. I'm at my first album. I compiled all the footage. I'm going to post a special on my YouTube channel, but I have no one on YouTube.
Okay, subscribe.
So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Raanan Hirschberg. Yeah.
Raanan Hirschberg. Go subscribe. Subscribe to all this stuff and stream the albums. Do all this stuff. Support us, for God's sakes.
And follow our Instagram. I need more Instagram followers. These clubs only book you if you have a certain amount of fucking followers. I got all these hacks are headlining these places because they have more followers. Fucking follow me.
It's really not fair.
I know. All right.
That's it.
Great.
Say the thing.
Cut.